Yeah.
Concussion, yeah.
So we were talking about the cumulative effects if if you do not return to play correctly. One of the more dangerous things is, again, you have that hit to the head, your brain is not healed properly. The most dangerous thing is that post-concussion syndrome. Is there a name? Sorry, I feel like it's escaping me now because I have had 3 concussions. I'm going to tell people in my life, not diagnosed properly, but that's back in my old day. But is there a term for having a second concussion within that time period? I feel like there is a term. Is it just post-concussion syndrome?
Well, post-concussive syndrome is a whole array of symptoms that occurs if concussion is not healed, if the brain is not healed.
But what's if you have a second, so I return to play, my brain hasn't healed yet.
Second impact.
Second impact. I knew that, see? Second impact, my brain needs a little sharpening, yes. Yes, but if you go back too quickly, second impact, and that's my understanding again, the more it's a very dangerous concept for the long-term health of the brain. So long-term implications if we either have that second impact syndrome,
yes.
or if you do not return to, or you return to play too soon, and again, maybe less impactful, but again, in that gray area, and we didn't heal properly. So talk to us a little bit about those long-term effects that we've seen, CTE, again, if you've followed the NFL, controversies and things like that. So yeah, talk to us a little bit about that.
So it's unfortunate because we don't really see the brain as being healed, inside. You may experience symptoms here and there, but it's really important to make sure that the brain is completely healed, and a professional will be able to examine and determine whether your brain has healed or not. So if it's not, and you go back, you can sort of look at it as if you fracture your leg and you're supposed to be out doing marathon and your leg has not healed completely. When you go back, you're not going to be the same self as being able to run. So the brain, being more complex, really needs to completely heal down to the molecular level. If it doesn't, then you're going to start experiencing symptoms much worse. So let's say if you have 1 concussion and it's cleared up and you're fine, and let's say a few months later you have another concussion, but the first one has already healed, you're fine.
Relatively fine.
Relatively fine, yeah.
Not great, but that's better, yeah.
On the situation and everything else attached to it.
Right.
But if you go back
that is an interesting question, if I may interrupt. If you have 1 concussion, are you more likely to have more concussions based on that? Because again, if you have like a stress fracture, so that's something, to your point, of the very good analogy about endurance athletes. I've seen a lot of endurance athletes who get stress fractures from not controlling their volume, doing a little too much volume, not recovering enough, and they let that stress fracture heal. If you guys know runners, if you are a runner, you probably want to get back to running. It becomes part of your life. Same thing with some of these sports, especially in the high school age population. So I don't know if it does. So yeah, that's an interesting question for me, maybe somebody at home, of if you have 1 concussion, and even if you do the baseline testing and you're healed, are you now more likely to have more concussions? Or is it, again, very variable, and again, same thing, like if you have a bone heal, sometimes that bone's actually stronger, not saying go out and get a concussion so you have a stronger brain, but is there a higher likelihood, or is it just a mechanism of injury? Like you said, girls soccer, they have kind of weaker necks that don't support the heading, so is there any correlation or anything like that to having further concussions if you've had 1?
Typically, research-wise, if you had 1 concussion, you tend to have another one. And my own professional opinion on that is it's probably due to, because if you have a concussion, if you have not healed completely, you may have poor attention. So you're not really paying attention to what you're doing. So you may experience another concussion.
Interesting. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not clear cut. It's very different with each individual, each sport.
Yeah, I think the amount, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the amount of information we know about neuropsychology is very small, correct, of what we know about the brain. And so when we do know things, so like this baseline testing, If we can take advantage of that, it's one of the best tools we have available to us now. So I want to go back to reinforcing the importance of finding somebody who can do baseline testing, like Dr. Kalinian here, and get that baseline testing done so you have that if you ever have any concussions. Is there a simple number of just the general population or athletes who get, is it 1%, 5% where concussions happen of the population? Do we have some statistics around that? Because again, like I had 3 concussions that I can tell you I've had, and I can name them when I lost consciousness or I saw stars, playing football, things like that. But none of those were reported, so they don't get into the statistics. So Lord knows how many concussions happen, especially back in the day. I think now we're in a little bit more of a well-researched and more reported situation. But yeah, is there a number of people that suffer from a concussion or experience a concussion? Approximate, simple?
If you're gonna play contact sports, you will get a concussion at least once.
So it's 100%.
Depending on the sport itself too. Obviously, some sports tend to have, the rate will be higher versus others. If you're playing tennis, obviously the rate is very low to none. Versus if you're playing if you're a girl and you're playing soccer, football, rugby, ice hockey, the chance of you getting a concussion is much, much higher.
So yeah, statistics are going to be a little tricky there. I get that. So yeah, get the baseline testing. Again, Dr. Kalinian is actually offering anyone out here in Orange County who sees this video, and again, we're going to push this out, to come in and do the baseline testing for free. There are things down the line that if you have a concussion, you can come back and do the can we call it re-baseline?
No, post-injury.
Post-injury, that makes more
Testing.
sense. So, and then they can do that, and then if there is a decrease still and there's still symptoms, there's a longer evaluation that can be done. Then we're going more into the treatment that needs to be done. But again, this happens all the time. Things seem to, I've worked with a few athletes and parents of athletes who have gone down this spiral, especially in that high school time when you have SATs coming up and college, other college admissions aspects. It's a very vital time for brain development in general too. So having that baseline is going to really set us up to avoid a lot further injuries or deterioration or damage down the line. So having that baseline can't be stressed enough. Again, you can risk it, you can roll the dice and I guess monitor symptoms, but if you can have that baseline testing and be a lot more definitive about, again, very well researched stuff, 5 points of, we call it points of performance or aspects of how the brain works. So that's the main focus here. Get the baseline testing. Any closing thoughts?
You can have a concussion anytime, anywhere. So if we don't have baseline data on you, how you were before concussion, how are we going to know, the length of the damage to your brain, and how are we going to help you? So that's the key take-home message is, it's like getting insurance. You drive a car, you must have insurance. You own a home, homeowner's insurance. The chances may not, may happen that you don't ever get burglarized at home, but if you do, it sure would be nice to have insurance to cover it. Same thing with cars.
Get your emergency preparedness kit, have your flashlight in your car, get your earthquake insurance out here in California. Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Dr. Kalinian, San Juan Capistrano, coastal neuropsychology and concussion specialists. You can reach out to me or her, message us in the video, any of that. See you soon. Hopefully not.